Hello, Leo. Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortably accurate. Have you sensed a strange tension in the air lately, like something big is coming, but you can't quite name it? If that struck a chord, trust me, it's not your imagination. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, where the universe speaks in whispers, signs, and synchronicities. And today, it's speaking directly to you. This is your deep dive horoscope reading for May 12, 2025, and I need you to hear this clearly. A shocking truth is coming. Something is about to unfold that could completely shift how you see your path, your relationships, and your next move. You didn't land on this video by accident. You were guided here. And what's coming isn't just news. It's destiny in motion. Whether it's a mysterious dream that keeps repeating, an old name resurfacing in your mind, or an emotion that just won't go away, there's a reason your energy feels on edge. A revelation is on its way, and no matter how grounded you are, it's going to shake something loose. This reading isn't just another forecast. It's a spiritual mirror. It's here to show you the energies that are building, the emotions you've buried, and the crossroads you've been quietly avoiding. And Leo, let's be honest, your soul has been carrying more than it shows. You've been strong for so long that you've forgotten what softness feels like. But the stars today are inviting you to stop bracing for impact and start preparing for release. Before we dive into the layers of your reading, into love, decisions, purpose, and that unexpected message coming your way, let me take a sacred moment to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the likes, the comments, and the subscriptions that light up this space. Every click, every share, every word you leave behind brings us closer together in this growing spiritual family we call Eternal Mindfulness. And believe me when I say, your presence here, it matters. Deeply. You could have scrolled past. You could have dismissed the whisper. But instead, you chose to listen. And for that, the universe is already responding. So, as we begin, I invite you to anchor this moment. Drop into your heart. Close your eyes, if only for a second, and breathe. Now comment an angel number that's been following you. Maybe it's 111, 222, or something unexpected. Whatever comes up, it's not random. It's a signal. It's your personal code in this cosmic dialogue. Stay with me, Leo. Because what's coming up next will not only validate everything you've been feeling, it will also hand you back the power to choose what happens next. This is more than a horoscope. This is your soul, illuminated. Let's begin. Sometimes, the greatest kindness the universe offers us comes in the form of disruption. And Leo, that disruption, however sudden, confusing, or even painful, has a sacred purpose. When the Tower card appears, it doesn't arrive to punish you, it arrives to release you. It's the cosmic lightning bolt that shatters illusions you've outgrown, even if you were still clinging to their comfort. In this moment, you are being invited not to fear the fall, but to understand the grace hidden within it. The Tower speaks of collapse, yes, but collapse with clarity. You may have been holding on to a version of your life, your self-image, or your relationships that no longer match the soul you are becoming. And life, in its quiet compassion, sometimes removes what you couldn't let go of, precisely because something truer is waiting to emerge. The shock is not there to destroy you, it's there to awaken you from a dream that has already ended. This is the nature of real transformation. Like a forest fire that clears dead wood to let new life grow, these moments burn through the parts of us we no longer need, the identities that no longer nourish us. And in that vulnerable clearing, where ego softens, and the truth stands bare, we remember who we were before fear taught us to hide. As a Leo, your energy is ruled by the sun. You were born to shine, not just in outward expression, but in integrity. Your essence is light, and light does not pretend. It reveals. So, when life disrupts the path you thought you needed, it's not betraying you, it's leading you back to alignment. You don't have to chase certainty anymore. You only need to stand in what is real, even when that truth shakes your foundation. There's a beautiful teaching hidden in the heart of experiences like this, that everything impermanent must eventually dissolve. Not as a punishment, but as a process of renewal. And when something breaks in your life, ask yourself, was it truly supporting you, or were you supporting it at the cost of your inner peace? Growth isn't always gentle. But what if gentleness isn't softness? What if true gentleness is the courage to witness our pain without turning away, and to trust that even in collapse, we are being held? Sometimes, the most powerful action we can take is to simply stop resisting what's already shifting. To stop fighting the waves, and instead, let them carry us to a shore we couldn't have reached on our own. You are not being punished. You are being recalibrated. And the deeper invitation here is not to get back to normal, but to question whether what you called normal was ever truly aligned. Sometimes, the version of you that survived wasn't meant to stay. Sometimes, it was just the bridge to your next becoming. So breathe. Let what's falling, fall. Let the story unravel if it needs to. Let the truth rise up, even if it trembles through you like thunder. Because that trembling means something real is waking up. And within that trembling, there is clarity. There is power. There is liberation. This is not your breaking point. This is your breakthrough. And the version of you on the other side of this will not only shine brighter, but will walk lighter, freer, and more whole than ever before. Not because nothing hurt, but because you learned how to let go, and still remain. And now, as the dust begins to settle after the tower's collapse, what rises from the rubble is not chaos, but clarity. The appearance of justice and strength in your reading is no coincidence. These two archetypes come forward as mirrors, reflecting back to you the deeper truth you may have forgotten in the noise, that your power was never in the performance, it has always lived in your presence. Justice doesn't demand revenge, nor does it promise a perfectly even outcome. Instead, it brings alignment. It reminds you that the scales of life are always adjusting, not based on what's loudest or most dramatic, but on what is true. And in moments when you feel dismissed, underestimated, or even silenced, the call is not to shout louder, but to anchor deeper into your inner knowing. The world may misjudge you, but it can't define you. That's your role. That's your gift. There is a quiet dignity in holding your center when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. And that's where strength enters, not as brute force or outward dominance, but as the inner composure that says, I don't have to control everything around me, because I trust my ability to respond with intention. This is the essence of courage. Not fearlessness, but the willingness to walk forward with fear in your pocket and your heart still open. You've been strong for others for a long time. Maybe too long. Maybe you've been the backbone in a family, the fire in a friendship, or the steady hand in a crisis. But true strength is not self-sacrifice. It's not draining your light so others can shine. It's choosing to shine fully, without apology, so that your presence becomes a lighthouse, not a rescue boat. And sometimes the most radical thing you can do is to stop waiting for a miracle and realize, you are the miracle. You are the turning point you've been hoping would arrive. You are the energy shift you've been praying for. This isn't about ego, it's about responsibility. A calm, grounded responsibility to care for your own vitality with the same devotion you offer others. So what does that look like, practically? Maybe it means finally putting down the coffee cup and picking up a glass of warm lemon water, not because a trend told you to, but because your body is asking for a reset. Maybe it means saying no to one more overcommitment, and yes to 10 minutes of stillness, stretching into your morning like you actually belong inside your own life. This is the sacred return to self. Not a dramatic reinvention, but a gentle remembering. A remembering that your worth is not measured by productivity, applause, or perfection. It's inherent. It breathes with you. It pulses in your blood. And when you start treating your choices, your health, your time, and your thoughts as sacred, balance begins to restore itself without force. There's an ancient teaching that says true wisdom is found not in accumulating more, but in peeling away what is not essential. And in that space of less noise, less proving, less pleasing, something extraordinary begins to emerge, your unshakable core. That part of you that doesn't rise or fall with opinion. That doesn't need permission to matter. You don't need to become more powerful. You only need to stop giving away the power you already have. So this is the invitation now, Leo. To return. Not to the past, or even to some fantasy of who you could be, but to the strength you've already carried, quietly and consistently, through every trial so far. And now, finally, you are allowed to live it fully, not in survival mode, but in sovereignty. Love is not just an emotion, it's a frequency, a rhythm, a mirror. And right now, Leo, the cards are revealing a moment when your heart is being called into deeper alignment. The presence of the Six of Cups, Knight of Cups, and Two of Cups points to a season of soulful connection. Whether it's someone returning from your past with genuine vulnerability, or a new presence arriving who feels strangely familiar, what's unfolding is more than romance, it's recognition. But recognition only happens when we are awake enough to see it. And that kind of awareness doesn't come from the mind, it comes from the heart that has chosen to soften, again and again, despite everything that tried to harden it. The Six of Cups carries the tender energy of memory, nostalgia not just for moments, but for feelings. Sometimes, it brings the past into the present, not so we can relive it, but so we can re-understand it. There may be someone who once shared a deep bond with you, who is now drawn back by the same unseen threads that once connected you. If this person returns, it won't be by chance. But the question is not whether they mean well, the question is whether you have done the inner work to greet them from a place of clarity, not longing. That's where the Knight of Cups rides in, not just as a symbol of romantic gesture, but of emotional bravery. He doesn't rush, and he doesn't hide. He steps forward when the time is right, when the heart feels steady enough to offer love without need, and to receive love without fear. This energy is an invitation for you to become that knight in your own life. To walk toward connection not because you're incomplete without it, but because you're whole enough to share. And then, there's the Two of Cups, the promise of mutuality, of balanced exchange. It represents not the fairy tale, but the real, eye to eye, hand in hand, not as saviors or fixes, but as equals. This is the kind of love that only becomes possible when two people arrive without masks, without keeping score, without trying to win. But here's the truth that many overlook: we can only meet someone as deeply as we've met ourselves. If your heart still carries the weight of an old wound, or if your boundaries still echo with fear disguised as self-protection, it's likely that love, no matter how true, will feel distant, uncertain, or even threatening. Which is why this moment is not just about who's coming into your life, but who you've become in preparation to receive them. There's a quiet teaching found in the practice of stillness, that when you truly let go of clinging, love begins to flow again. Not as something to hold, but as something to be. You don't need to chase what's meant for you. You only need to become open enough to allow it. And that kind of openness comes from acceptance, not expectation. So, ask yourself, have I released the old story that love equals pain, or that vulnerability equals weakness? Have I forgiven where I need to forgive, not just others, but also myself for the times I didn't know better? These aren't rhetorical questions. They are keys. Because the door is opening, and who you are as you walk through it will determine everything about what you find on the other side. Whatever or whoever is coming your way is not a rescue, it's a reflection. The more you cherish your own worth, the more clearly you'll recognize those who cherish it too. So rather than preparing to impress or protect, prepare to receive. Love doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks that you be present. And in that presence, something extraordinary begins to happen, not just a relationship, but a reunion between your truest self and the love you've always deserved. There's a quiet moment in every transformation when you realize the old story doesn't fit anymore, but the new one hasn't been written yet. That's where you are now, Leo. The Two of Wands suggests that you're standing at a threshold, able to see the possibilities ahead, yet still tethered to something behind you. It could be a belief, a role, a comfort zone, or even an identity you once needed to survive, but no longer need to thrive. The tension isn't because you lack vision. It's because you're human. And being human means learning how to hold space for uncertainty without letting it dictate your future. The presence of the Seven of Swords reveals the part of us that tries to navigate life through strategies instead of sincerity. It's not always deception aimed at others, sometimes it's the small ways we deceive ourselves. Telling ourselves we're not ready yet, pretending we're fine when we're exhausted, or clinging to habits that protect us from discomfort. These defense mechanisms often arise from fear, not because we're weak, but because we've been hurt. And that pain can make self-protection feel like self-preservation. But then comes the Four of Pentacles, a card about holding on. About the false sense of safety we get from control. You may be clutching to routines, money, or emotional distance because letting go feels too exposed. But here's the quiet truth: nothing alive can grow while it's being gripped too tightly. Whether it's your finances, your dreams, or your identity, if you want expansion, you have to create space. And creating space means trusting that the unknown can hold you just as safely as the familiar once did. This is not about recklessness. It's about discernment. Knowing when to release what no longer supports you, and having the patience to stand in the space between what was and what will be. There's a teaching that says the river never clings to the banks. It flows. And yet, it never loses itself. You too can let go without losing your center. You can move forward without abandoning your essence. So ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go of this? What part of me am I trying to protect? Often, we're not holding on because something is right, we're holding on because it's familiar. But familiarity is not the same as alignment. And alignment begins when you choose to respond from clarity, not fear. Let this be a time to reflect, not retreat. Begin small. End each day by asking yourself 3 gentle questions. What did I release today? What am I grateful for in this moment? And what is one choice I can make tomorrow that brings me closer to the life I want to live? These aren't just journal prompts. They are invitations to return home to yourself, one honest thought at a time. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. You don't need the whole map. You just need the willingness to take one step from intention, not from fear. Because fear will tell you to delay until you're ready. But readiness doesn't come before action. It comes through action. Right now, you're being called to trust that the life meant for you is not behind you, and it's not something you have to chase. It's ahead, waiting to meet you as you move forward. And the version of you who will thrive in that future? They're already inside you. You don't need to build them. You only need to let them out. Let your decisions be shaped by your values, not your fears. Let your vision pull you forward, not your history hold you back. Because this life, it's yours. Not fears. Not doubts. Yours. After all the inner shifts and courageous choices you've made, it's only natural that the external energies would begin to mirror that transformation. And today, they do, gently, but powerfully. The astrological alignment for May 12th is a quiet turning point. The Sun, your ruling luminary, is forming a harmonious aspect with Pluto, the planet of profound change. This isn't a loud eruption, but more like a steady glow illuminating what you're ready to release, and what you're finally prepared to reclaim. When the Sun meets Pluto in harmony, the focus moves inward. It calls for reflection, but not in the way that makes you spiral. This is grounded contemplation. It invites you to look at your patterns with a kind eye and ask, not what went wrong, but what has run its course. What stories have outlived their wisdom? What identities no longer feel like home? And what truth is quietly knocking on your inner door, asking to be let in? That's why this moment isn't about reinvention. It's about revealing what's already been waiting beneath the surface. Think of a flower bud that's spent weeks growing in silence underground. It doesn't question its timing when it breaks through the soil. It simply trusts that the light is there, and it opens. This is what the energy of 111 whispers to you now, a portal to a new beginning. Not a flashy start, but an honest one. One that begins with your willingness to be present with yourself as you are. The repeating ones are not just a symbol of alignment, they're a sign that the path forward opens every time you return to yourself. Then comes 555, often misunderstood as chaos, but in truth, it's a sacred invitation into movement. Into decisions that disrupt stagnation, into habits that reflect your current values rather than your past wounds. It doesn't demand that you change everything at once. It asks only that you allow room for transformation to unfold, even if you don't know where it leads. And 222, the quiet reassurance that you don't have to do this alone. That the rhythm of life has its own intelligence. That balance is not something you chase, it's something you create from moment to moment by choosing what's right over what's familiar. When you see 222, it's a reminder that progress doesn't always look like forward motion. Sometimes it looks like rest. Like boundaries. Like trust in timing. To support these energies physically, work with color as a living frequency. Gold, with its radiant warmth, reminds you of the light you carry naturally. It's not a color of ego, it's a color of authenticity, of unapologetic presence. Coral, soft yet vibrant, activates your creative center. It says, it's safe to express again. You're allowed to enjoy being visible. And pearl white, gentle and cleansing, helps clear away the residual doubt that may still linger from old narratives. Wear these colors consciously, not just for fashion but for frequency. Let them be anchors to your intention. Let them be reminders that your energy is not random, it's a language, and today, it's speaking clearly. All of this is a reflection of something ancient and ever relevant, that our outer world begins to change the moment our inner world finds alignment. Not through force, but through a quiet return. A letting go. A deep bow to the impermanence of all things, and a soft welcome to the new chapter that's already unfolding beneath your feet. You don't have to push through the door that's opening. You only need to be still enough to feel it swing gently toward you. If you've stayed with me all the way until now, it's not by chance, it's because some part of your spirit recognizes that this message was meant for you. You didn't arrive here today to be entertained. You arrived because you were ready to be reminded of what you already know deep down, that your path, your purpose, and your power are not waiting outside of you. They are already within you, quietly waiting for your permission to emerge. You see, Leo, no one else can walk through the doorway that's opening before you. Not your past. Not your relationships. Not the version of you who used to dim your light just to keep the peace. Only you, as you are now, and as you're becoming. You don't need to become someone new. You just need to remember who you were before fear taught you to forget. So I want to gently ask you, if you stopped waiting for someone to save you, what would you begin today? What belief about yourself are you finally ready to release? And if this very moment was the beginning of something completely new, what would you choose to believe about your worth, your direction, and your future? You've seen in this reading how every card, every planetary shift, every symbol pointed back to one core truth. You are standing at a threshold. Life is no longer asking you to wait, it's asking you to participate. That doesn't mean rushing. It doesn't mean proving anything. It means showing up honestly, consistently, and allowing your light to take up space again. Now is the time to apply what you felt. To turn insight into action, even if that action is just one breath, one journal entry, one conscious choice not to slip back into the old patterns. Small shifts carry massive momentum when they're made from clarity. So, here's my invitation to you. Let this video be more than something you just watched. Let it be something you responded to. In the comments, tell me, what angel number keeps showing up in your life lately? What message do you think it's trying to send you? Or simply share one word that describes how you feel right now. This is your moment to affirm your place in this journey, not just as a listener, but as a co-creator. And before we part ways for today, let me take a heartfelt moment to thank you. Thank you for your time, your energy, your presence. Every like, every comment, every subscription is a sacred act of alignment that helps this community grow, and allows us to continue bringing these messages of healing, truth, and cosmic guidance to those who need them most. But more than that, thank you for choosing to show up for yourself today. That is no small thing. That is an act of courage. So if this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness. Not just to stay connected, but to stay committed. This journey doesn't end here. And I promise, I'll be right here, ready to walk beside you, through every season, every shift, and every sacred moment of remembering who you truly are. Because the light is ready. The question is, are you?